Blessings, everyone. Good evening to you. This is Reverend Honi Borden of Ascension Alchemists, and this is episode 5. It's so nice to be with you, especially after tonight, where every Monday night we have our Ascension Alchemy Ministry Association Monday night meditation, where it is all about embodiment of that eternal light presence. And it's just incredible. It's been several years. Every Monday we gather and we go into this incredible place where the source of creation that we each come from, we get to breathe the love of that, breathe that loving Christ energy in us, and we get to just bathe in it and sit with it as a group and just be. So I'm just coming off of that, and I feel so incredibly enchanted, exhilarated, and so grateful that these human vessels that we are in has the capacity to sometimes get out of the way, so that way as we breathe so consciously with that light of awareness and that love in us, we get to experience it on the inside, the truth of the reality of who we are and what we are, and how remarkable it feels in our physical body, that level of nectar, that level of sweetness, that level of basically truth, and the wonderment where when we come off of this meditation, it's like, wow, so that's who we are in that vastness, right? And then we are in this form, so the walls of separation fall aside, and then there's this breath of oneness between all the bodies, which is the breath of life. And it carries this love that is the fabric of life. And then so quickly we remember, wow, this is exactly what life is. All life form that is made from source has been made from this love. And it's so easy to digest the awareness once we're in this space, because it's just understood from within, because from within we've experienced that truth, and it's experienced literally in our organs, in our cells, in our muscles, in our bone, and it just feels amazing. And for those who are part of my association, we get to do this every Monday night. They can be a testament to this. And as I came off of it, I said, this is the perfect night to just go ahead and come on and let me go ahead and do a recording for this podcast as episode 5. Especially after this weekend. This was a very special weekend I had, because my brother brought his beautiful children, my niece and nephew, for the first time to the East Coast, where they were introduced to the whole family, cousins, uncle, aunt, and we had a chance the full weekend to hang out, to be with the animals, the pets, to be with family, for my niece and nephew to experience so much love and to really feel how valued they are. And I was sitting in this space as I dropped them off the airport today before coming back to lead tonight's meditation. I was sitting in so much gratitude that these two beautiful, precious children, they flew in. My brother was able to bring them, and they were just in the reception of love. They received so much love from every angle. They got so many presents. It's like a whole family was waiting for them to be greeted, with this much love. And I was sitting in the wonderment of it, and how the generation that I came from, and the generation that my kids came from, and the generation of my brother's children who are 7 and 4, the waves of these generations that has been able to break so many patterns in our own generation, and how beautiful it is, the reception of love that they've come into. And each child truly deserves it. I've had my own journey that I've navigated in this incarnation as a soul coming in and not being a wanted child, and in my adult years, how much I really became so saddened by that. And it took me a really long time later in my adult years, actually in the years where I began diving deep into my healing journey and forgiving the hurt that I felt and transmuting it into the recognition that my soul wanted to be here, whether I was wanted or not. And it had certainly a lot to deliver in this incarnation. And I changed my story. I wasn't going to be bogged down by that story that had kept me really victim. I don't know if some of you have had those stories where you were told as a child a lot of negative things in the way you were born and whether you were wanted or not wanted. I'm going to probably emphasize more on those of you who were repeatedly told you really weren't wanted, and how much it impacted you without your parents ever realizing the negative impact on that. And it took me a while to really clean that up and not be identified by that or hurt by it anymore, where I'm just not in that space. I've really forgiven that because I've been able to embrace the shift in my own mind. It was never my mom's job to shift that. It was for me to come into that, experience whatever I needed to experience as a soul, which was all divinely orchestrated, as challenging, difficult, heart-wrenching, many of the experiences that I went through, sitting in this space that I am, which is the I am presence lens. There's such a beauty in being able to see through the lens that has been healed, see through the lens that is in pure awareness, see through the lens that is seeing through the lens of divinity, the perfection of it in what seems so imperfect. And I feel this might speak to some of you who've had very difficult life experiences and you've gone through quite a bit of your healing journey of forgiveness and transcending the pain for everything that you had harvested the negativity into you from lack of understanding, and of course naturally being so hurt and being victimized to the hurt and suffering and the pain, and of course your pain body being carried on and affecting many of your other life circumstances. So from this place then you get to, as you expand more love into it, expand the healing greater, you also come to this place that I have where you see the perfection and you actually even see the grace in the midst of the absolute insanity, and you recognize, yes, you chose that, God chose that with you, God Almighty wanted you to experience this, so you came to experience it. And And the sole purpose has been for you to experience grace. So me that is speaking to you through my human temple right now, has my human self has finally caught up with the recognition that this whole thing was about the experience in the human journey of discovering grace, discovering compassion, discovering deeper understanding. And these have been one more, discovering the art of patience. These have been all part of the art where my soul chose to come in here and discover what it was like to experience this quality of God Almighty in this human form. Now, I'm talking with so much relaxation here, and let's just be honest, it absolutely has not been in any shape or form this easy to grasp it. There's been a lot of kicking and screaming, a lot of difficulty, a lot of wanting to give up, and having just a lot of challenge with wanting to understand why it has to be so difficult, why there has to be so much suffering, why there has to be so much pain. What did I do? And of course, being victim to the pain that was brought to it. And some of you that know me personally, you know how public I have been about the life from being incarnated in another culture, in another country, and everything that came with that, and going through a revolution in my country, the country that I was born in, and then the war, and the tragedy of war and how devastating that is. Then immigration to the US, not speaking the language, coming in the middle of middle school, not having any friends, everything taken away, and completely not having any resources or money because we lost everything, to starting brand new, from having everything down to nothing, to a suitcase, and my mom had only $200, and starting life again and being so confused about everything and the difficulty. There's so many steps, which at some point throughout these podcasts I'll share every now and then. So having said that, it's a journey indeed. Those of you, especially in this podcast at Ascension Alchemy and Ascension Alchemists, you're all Ascension Alchemists. I know it. If you're drawn to the title, you have walked this journey of ascension. Then at some point you've remembered, and you've been on your spiritual awakening for quite a while. Then you've had to go like an alchemist, separate from everything, go through your path to try to remember, be a seeker, remember yourself. And at some point you've come to that remembrance, and once you've remembered, then it's like, oh wait, I gotta go back. And you start coming back, healing all these relationships, and it starts to come back into you, recognizing you in the center of all these relationships. So you got to really heal the inside. You can't escape things anymore. You can't numb them. You're gonna have to actually face every single thing and come into all these bodies and align all these bodies and create the temple for God Almighty to come in, that Christ light to be in you, so the living presence of Christ can be the way in which it communicates, speaks through you, through your heart, and you begin to live it, and live it in your form. You don't have to go preach it, you don't have to go teach it, but you're actually called to walk it. So those of you who are called to my channel, called to our ministry, called to the teaching, is all about this. We are everyday people who have remembered we are the creation from source, from that God presence as the living Christ light, right? It's put in all people, all 8 billion people on this planet, but not all have remembered. Those of us have remembered, we've had to start cleaning up all these different bodies, from the etheric body, the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, so that way we can be a living temple, a living house where God Almighty is housing in, so we can walk it, we can be it, we can radiate it, we can speak and act from there. And of course, many falls until we resurrect. Daily resurrection, daily falls, daily forgiving, daily checking in, daily meeting with God Almighty, sitting in and getting the instruction from the inside, and praising that glorious awareness. And I believe many of you relate to this, and of course some of you don't, because you're just not there, and that too is okay. There's no right, there's no wrong here, especially from this lens. We really embrace individual where they are in their journey. Not all of us are in the same journey. Some of us are further along, some of us are, not as further along, and it isn't about how evolved one is or anything like that. It's none of that. It's all happening simultaneously. It's just the matter of whether we have remembered to merge our bodies and allow the presence, the witness, to speak through us. So in this channel particularly, sometimes you find me speak from the lens of my dear I am presence and that awareness, and then you find me speaking from my human lens. And then there are all these other bodies in here where there's the emotional body, the mental body, my etheric body, and all of them are present at the same time. And being aware of all of them is quite a wonderful gift. Because at the end of the day, what really matters is, as a soul, so many of us chose to be in a form. So here we are, even in the flesh. And how wonderful is that? We are not, we're concentrated in the flesh. So we're here to live our light of awareness in the flesh. How incredible is that? How amazing is that? Well, it's not that amazing when we have not remembered, because all of our insecurities, all of our challenges, all of our disempowerment, when that has a hold over us, we don't quite see the purpose. And I can definitely tell you I've walked that, and I believe many of you also have walked that, and some of you are still walking it. So I have a lot of compassion for you. There's a lot of compassion here. There's a lot of compassion for this human journey. This human journey is signed up to go through a lot, for sure. To just try to make sense out of the world is wild. The world as we're living in, and the world that never really taught us about our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our mind, just sent us to school through a very programmed way. And it had its functionality. However, for us being a soul so rich in magnificence, and be reduced to just the physicality that has not remembered how to operate this miraculous reality, and has kept us very limited, has been truly a disservice to us. Yet that's why there has been this spiritual awakening, right? So the spiritual awakening gets to allow us to go through it, remember who we are. So from that lens of remembrance, we can begin to live in embodiment, live graciously, live in freedom. And so many of you, I wonder how many of you are looking for freedom still. I know many of you are still looking freedom from the outside. For example, if you make a certain amount of money, you're free, or if you are getting away from this family member or friend or colleague, you're free, or if you are getting away from people judging you by your skin color or your religion or your culture, you're free. And all of those are valid. All are valid. Nobody is disowning that. Yet, from where I'm speaking, is when none of those are anymore, it's not that it's not valid, doesn't have importance, because you've remembered you are an extension of source in form. So you're not identified by culture, by race, by gender, by, again, culture. I think I said that. You're not identified by any of these things. So because you simply remember who you are, so that has no impact. And you feel so free because that has no impact. And you know your truth is only to live God's grace, the God's glorious love, that presence, the source of creation birthed you. So here you are in form, and you get to live on earth, and you get to bring that onto earth. You literally get to bring heaven on earth. So you always heard it, and you thought it was outside of you until you remember it's always been inside of you. So how do you live it? And there's several of us are now excited about the game of life. By the way, how many of you read the book Florence Scovel shared with her book, The Game of Life, and How You Play It? That was a great, great book. I loved reading it. Maybe sometime I bring in and can just read over to you. So fantastic with how to play it. Because I remember when I was reading it, I was sitting in contemplation, because there were several parts when she talked about this is how you play the game. It is a game. And when I used to be in my suffering body and just hurting from life, disempowered, upset of the amount that people and society, individuals had hurt me, to me, it seemed like a cruel game. And I, in many areas, I experienced like as if I had failed this game of life. I didn't know how to play it. It was a terrible game, and I wanted the game to end, actually. Maybe some of you relate to that as well. Until I remembered that, wait a minute, this game can be a lot of fun. I just never knew how to play this game. So now that I've learned how to play a game, because it's very much like, for me, I love the game backgammon. When I was a kid, my grandfather showed me how to play backgammon. Before I would watch it, I would get very frustrated because I didn't understand it. And once my grandfather showed me how to play backgammon, I was very young, 5 years old. I was obsessed with backgammon, and I started playing, and I could grasp backgammon and chess, and I would get so competitive. I loved it, and it was so exhilarating. And I remembered that feeling of understanding how to play the game. So that shifted for me on the inside, and it became this joyous game of life, just like Florence Gower Shen had said. And before that, it was absolutely not a joyous celebration of life in any way. I would have to also speak to that as truth. So tonight was a really beautiful meditation. This weekend was spectacular, being with cousins and very healing. I'm sure some of my cousins are going to listen to this podcast, and thank you so much for watching it. This week, it's been 1 week we launched our podcast, Mentoring Through This with Kathy. Thank you so much. I'm in class 3 days a week for this, learning all the things behind the scene. There's such a growth in discovering how podcasting world works, and by the end of the training, I'll be official, real professional podcaster, and these are all the homeworks along the way. So thank you so much for those of you who are watching it on YouTube, for those of you who are hearing it on audio. I really appreciate it. As I'm learning about audio, I'm learning about the video, I'm learning about uploads, I'm learning about how the platform goes, and behind all of these is giving me a vehicle where I can also share parts of my life, such as this weekend with family, and being able to be with my beautiful family, experience such a blessing, multidimensionally witnessing my cousins and my niece and nephew share this platform of love. My brother feeling so loved, the dream that we have for this moment to happen took place. And my apartment was an absolute wreck, our apartment, because of the kids, and nobody cared. The cleaner comes tomorrow, God bless her. We get to put things aside, and how all of these material things, they're beautiful. And what is even more beautiful is when we get to share this with each other, share the meals, share the talks, share the conversations, share things that we haven't said with each other. And I get to bring some of these inner sights onto this platform, raw, real, just talk it out. Michael was, today he was very, very exhausted. We're supposed to have this podcast 3 times a week. So it's supposed to be my solo episode, and then one with Michael and I, and one his. As we take these steps, we may have to just do twice a week. So please bear with us until we can have a definite times for the podcast, as this is, we're going to 2nd week. And by the way, congratulations. Thank you so much. Congratulating all of you as you're with us. We had 100 downloads within 1 week, which is incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, all of you who are listening to these, leaving little reviews for us, because these are part of the stepping stones. You get to witness the behind the scene and what's happening in between, really raw and real. And I decided not to edit anything. It's just, this is how it is. So it is absolutely not perfect in any way. As my mentor Kathy said, let it be you, let it be messy, because you're learning along the way. And I'm really putting myself in the midst of this learning along the way, and I'm loving it. I have to say, I truly feel podcasting is my absolute joy. I hope you can feel it. And it's a lot of fun discovering a whole different skill. And I so appreciate, even though I can't see who is listening, I can feel the connection for those of you who are here. And I would love to invite you to please send me questions. There's like a a link in there that I put with questions, because it would really help me. What would you want to know? As organically this is unfolding, I can also address some of these questions. So that's what I have for now. My heart is really in deep place of gratitude from this weekend. My physical body is tired, and I'm here to share. A lot of times our physical body is tired, and sometimes our feelings are more denser because of the emotions and the thoughts. And I would like to remind you that those of you particularly that have remembered who you are as a witness of that source presence in form, you know you're not your emotions, you know you're not your thoughts, you know you're not your feeling, you know you're not your body, you're just in it. So don't get so bogged down with these, because your truth is wholeness, your truth is awareness, your truth is pure light. It's pure light. And I can 100% stand behind it, because some of you know and some of you don't know, but those of you that know, when I had died, I'd crossed over to spirit side. I'm a testament, living testimony of pure light. So I can easily speak to that. And for those of you who don't believe it, it doesn't matter to me. I only speak of what's truth to me. I'm not here to convince anyone. And this is really not teaching, it's just sharing. So thank you for being here with me, present, walking in this moment. And I'm going to go ahead to pause here so I can speak also to the Iranians. And I'm so curious to know, for those of you who watched my last episode, the 4th episode, which was released on Saturday, as I spoke in Farsi at the end, how was that? Please give me some comments. I want to hear. So I'm going to do it again. At the end of each show, when it's my solo show, I'm going to speak in Farsi, whatever is in my presence. So that way my Farsi can improve, and I can attempt to speak from the language of God. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I just realized I say "and" a lot. So that has to shift. So thank you for being a witness to that as well. And have a blessed night. دوستان عزیز، خوش آمدین. مرسی از اینکه با من هستین. الان خیلی خیلی خوشحال هستم که تونستم اولین شوام رو 2-3 روز پیش ریلیز کنم و شمایی که تونستین گوش کنین، تونستین برای اولین بار به صدای من گوش بدین و از این طریقی که من میخوام صحبت کنم راجع به خدا، راجع به اون حقیقتم، یه اپورتونیتی هست که من بتونم تمرین کنم و سعی کنم زبان فارسی من بهتر کنم، که بتونم بهتر تجربه کنم یا اکسپرس کنم اون چیزی که میخوام بگم از دید خدا. خدا توی وجودم بسیار قوی هستش، چون که جدا از من نیستش، داخلم هستش و جزو نفسم هست، جزو دیدم هست، جزو جسمم هست، جزو افکارم هست، جزو احساسم هست. من خدا رو تو همه چی احساس میکنم و میتونم بیان کنم تا یه مقدارش خب مشکل تر هست، به خاطر اینکه این انسان یه مقدار لیمیتیشن داره و وقتی ما تو بدن انسان این راه میریم و فوکسمون جسمی هستش، از ارتباط به نور الهی یه مقدار کمتر حواسمون بهش هست. یعنی when we're focused physically, we are not in complete awareness and understanding of our eternal presence. همشون نمیدونستم چجوری فارسی بگم. در هر صورت میتونیم خیلی راحت گیر کنیم توی جزئیات زندگی و وقتی توی جزئیات زندگی گیر میکنیم زجرش بیشتر هست و عشقش بعض وقتا کمتر هست، فهمش هم کمتر هست. compassion نمیدونم فارسی چیه، اونم کمتر هست. ولی وقتی این در باز میشه خیلی بهتر میتونیم تجربه زندگی یه جور دیگه تجربه کنیم که معنیش بیشتره، شیرینیش بیشتره، درکش بیشتره و اون برای من خیلی مثل حیات هست، خیلی دوست یا حیاتی هست، خیلی بیشتر برام میچسبه، لذت داره. نمیدونم شما آیا اینجوری فکر میکنین یا اینجوری احساس میکنین یا اینجوری رفتار میکنین؟ آیا اصلا در تماس هستین با قسمت که شما رو آفریده کرده ولی تو جسم نیست؟ آیا از جدا خودتون رو قبول دارین یا میتونین تشخیص بدین که یکی هستین با هم دیگه؟ خیلی دوست دارم، کنجکاو هستم که بدونم نظرتون چی هست. من اینجا نیستم که بخوام درس بدم یا بخوام نظرتون عوض کنم. من فقط همین که میشنم هست و دنیام هست و زندگی میکنم، فقط از اون لنز دید بیان کنم. چقدر احساس زیبایی هست که میتونم فارسی صحبت کنم. خیلی خجالت میکشم ولی این هفته پیش وقتی که این پادکست رو فیلم کردم، بعدش یه احساس اینقدر زیبایی داخلم بود، یا احساس فریدام داشتم، آزادی داشتم، چون که همیشه خجالت میکشیدم فارسی حرف بزنم و راجع به این چیزا صحبت کنم و این انگار یه در پرزن نمیدونم چیه فارسی، یه در پرزنت برام باز شده و خودم ها نجات دارم از توش و خیلی ممنون از این که با هم راه میاین و یه سعی به من میدین که من سعی کنم بیات کنم و یه مقدار فارسیمو بهتر کنم از این لحاظ. در صورت خیلی ممنون. شب بسیار خوب و زیبایی داشته باشین و نور عشق با خودتون هر روز باشه و بتونین از اون داخل دنیا رو ببینین. شبتون بخیر تا هفته دیگه.